because we're live.
Jesus, George. All right, and welcome to a new episode of CNC Bros. We have two very special guests today. Can we introduce ourselves?
Who's getting introduced first, though?
You talk first.
Yeah, who? You go first.
Okay. Well, I grab the initiative as one does. My name's Eric Fuchs. You could follow me at Blue Highwind. I write at bluehighwind.blogspot.com. And yeah, I'm a person that exists in the world. And I talk about Kingdom Hearts here today for you.
All right. And Lissa, you're next.
Hello. I am Alyssa, or Alyssa. And I am Curagah on Twitter, but with an H at the end. And yeah, I am also one who exists in the world. And I am here to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. And yeah.
And you should all know us. This is George and Brian, respectively.
I got myself.
You got yourself? All right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Y'all all know who I am.
And we go to the CNC Bros podcast regularly.
CNC Bro. Anime FGC enthusiast. Vanilla Chain of Memories apologist.
My God.
Okay, first question. This may come randomly, but what does CNC stand for?
Oh my God. I knew it would come to this.
Oh, no.
Is it Command and Conquer?
I was wondering.
Okay. Although it would probably be better if it were Command and Conquer. Cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my God.
This was not a CNC Music Factory podcast?
No, it wasn't. And
No.
we debated on the name for a long time before we came up with that, because we looked to see if there was anybody of import that may put us in the ground if we use that name. But
Hershey's
I
maybe.
see.
But we can't use Oreo, so
Okay. All right. So
But
we
we can use
bros and a
Yeah.
broette.
we can use double stuff though.
we can use double stuff. I think they spell it differently.
Yeah.
But we're here today to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. Of course, as everybody probably knows at this point, it's been out for, I guess, 2.5 weeks now. Widely anticipated sequel to the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and this is just a collection of opinions on the game itself from across different walks of life and experiences with the game. It's me and Lissa, I think, that are probably the most rabid fans here. And then we've got Eric, and then we have George, who I don't even know how deep into it you are, George, but he told me
I'm there.
that after the end of this game that he didn't ever want to be invested in it, but here he was, and he'd probably have to at the sequel. So we're here to just give our thoughts and opinions and maybe shoot a little bit at crackpot theories and see where it goes. So I wanted to talk about a little bit, just to get right into it. What are y'all's experiences with the podcast? Oh my God, with the game and the franchise as a whole? Because I know George's just from being his friend for a while, but I know nothing about Eric's experience or Alyssa's experience.
Well, I started playing this game. Oh man, I must have been 12, 11 or 12. I think I started playing Kingdom Hearts 2 first, and then I had no idea what was going on. I got it for Christmas or something, and I had absolutely no idea what was going on. And I think I begged my parents to get the first game because I wanted to understand it because it had Disney in it. I don't know, and then I got it, and it was from there. I just got obsessed with it and just kept with it through life.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. My experiences with Kingdom Hearts begin when I think I was a sophomore in high school, and I bought a PlayStation 2. And the very first game I played on that PlayStation 2 was a Kingdom Hearts 1 disc.
Oh my God.
This was 2004, 2005.
This is a beautiful story.
Yeah, I may be the oldest one here. I'm not sure. But,
probably.
Yeah, so I've played all the Kingdom Hearts games except for the mobile one because who needs to play a mobile one? I've been around long enough that I remember the Kingdom Hearts 2 final movie and thinking up theories of like, well, this has to be the Keyblade War.
Yeah.
And, well, Terra must be Xehanort, and the Xehanort we think is Xehanort must be the old guy, and he's got to be dead, and debating all that. And, yeah, so we at the Final Fantasy Wiki, which we've discussed before, we're all Kingdom Hearts fans, and we even took over the Kingdom Hearts Wiki briefly.
We did.
Yeah.
That was a fun day.
Then the Kingdom Hearts Wiki broke from Wikia, and there's a lot of weird politics with that, and even I don't understand where the story went. Effectively, there's a Heartless version of the Kingdom Hearts Wiki and a nobody version of the Kingdom Hearts Wiki.
What?
You decide which one's better.
You get to decide which one you like. Neither one of them are perfect, I'd say.
There are gaps in knowledge in both.
Yes.
Yeah.
And only when they're combined can we get a true Wikia.
Yeah.
Are we completed?
So out of all game franchises, I think Kingdom Hearts is in my top 3 with Final Fantasy and Zelda.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would have to agree. For me personally, I got a PlayStation 2 because I saw the commercials with Simple and Clean playing in the background, and I demanded that I play this Disney game because I had not played any consoles since the Super Nintendo up to that point, and I was stuck playing Link to the Past perpetually. But I bought it, and I think it took me like 4 months to beat the game because I was terrible at video games at that point, and I became really invested in the story, like too much. Way too much looking back, but I absolutely adore it. I don't think that it's something that could have been conceived with absolute sincerity. I think that they made this franchise knowing that it was going to be a little bit goofy, but they went in all the way, and I appreciate that they play it with such a straight face. But I love it, and I've played every entry thus far, even mobile game. I've spent an obscene amount of money on mobile game at one point and had to put it away. Yep.
How much money did you spend on the mobile game?
We are probably looking at upwards of 500.
Oh,
God.
And I say that because that's spread over like the course of almost 2 years, though, because I would buy like the $15 a week thing every week.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
And I would get the stuff and all the premium content, and I had a job at that point and did not pay for rent, and it was okay.
Okay.
And now I pay for a lot of things and cannot afford any of that, so I just deleted it off my phone and said I'll play later for free.
It could be worse.
Yeah.
You could have spent $15,000 on it, like somebody did with Final Fantasy X Xervius or whatever that is.
Oh God, I remember that. That they were trying to get one specific pool.
I was gonna say, who spent money on Brave Exvius?
Not me yet.
I don't even know which name it was. There's so many mobile games. I think it was Brave Xervius.
Fire Emblem Heroes. That's where the money's at.
Yeah, it is.
There's too many gacha games,
I don't want to talk
and they
about
all tempt me. And
Too many.
I almost played Fate Grand Order the other day and re-downloaded it on my phone.
The hell you didn't.
I had to purify myself and get gone, Satan, from this house.
I think I watched the anime of that, and it wasn't very good.
Yeah, they did have like an OVA, didn't they?
Yeah.
But like I said, I've played the entire franchise on every platform that it's been released on, even recoded. I have not played coded. I take that back with the original, but I love it. And every time I play an entry that's brand new, I would absorb the story like it was crack and heroin, and it would be a new injection. I spoiled myself on actually every single game that came out after Kingdom Hearts 2 until Kingdom Hearts 3, and I would look up all the cutscenes like 2 months before they were released in America. It wasn't a happy time for me. Wait until I tell you about the story where I made myself physically ill when Birth by Sleep released. I actually left school early because I was having withdrawals.
You were having withdrawal symptoms?
I was actually having the shakes.
My
I couldn't
gosh.
focus. I was freezing. We were leaving on a family vacation that night. And I think it was release day, or like 2 days after release day. And I begged my mother to take us by GameStop as we're leaving town so that I could get my copy and like play in the car on the way up. And I actually had to leave school because I was just like beside myself.
That's insane.
That was the thing.
What grade was this?
That was 10th grade.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I was so ashamed of myself, and I've never been that excited about a video game ever again.
That is rough.
That's all right.
And the Birth by Sleep too.
Yeah. I remember I actually beat Marluxia while going through the security of the San Diego airport. Yeah, that was in Chain of Memories on my, I think it was
the Game Boy?
DS. Yeah, but it was the GBA slot of the DS.
I gotcha.
That was an epic battle because I had to go through security while still playing it. And on the flight home back to New Jersey, I think I finished Riku's entire storyline of Chain of Memories.
I didn't actually beat Riku's side for an extra 5 months after the game had come out because I couldn't beat Ansem on the final boss.
Oh. Yeah, his battles get hard.
My little 9-year-old hands just couldn't do it. But I really do love that is an experience that we all have to an extent. What about you, George? How did you get in? It was Caitlin, wasn't it?
Nope. It was way before that. I got in, God, it had to be middle school because it was after I had gotten my DS. So how far back was it? 5th generation? Yeah. 5th generation consoles. I don't remember. Numbers aren't important. I had gotten a GameCube rather than a PS2. So of course I was unable to play Kingdom Hearts. But it definitely had me interested, especially because I was like already kind of interested in Final Fantasy at the time. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything I love, it's a crossover, no matter what it is. Like my involvement in Smash is evidence of that. So
and yet you didn't finish the Fire Emblem Shin Megami Tensei crossover.
Oh no, but I'm still playing it though. Like I'm still in the middle of it, trying at some point. Cutting on that Wii U is hard, man. But got my DS by like 7th grade so I could play Pokemon Diamond. But I figured it'd be the opportunity to like just pick up a bunch of other games. So I bought Animal Crossing Wild World and then Chain of Memories at the same time. And man, that was all I played for about half a year on my DS.
Just those three?
Just those two. I mean, like I would intermittently like switch back and forth on and off Pokemon and everything, but for the most part, it was Animal Crossing because that's the time sync. But also, Chain of Memories, just because like I was having the funnest time ever with it. Fun fact: the L and R buttons on my DS Lite don't work because of Chain of Memories. Like those, those killed my L and R buttons.
I think it did it for my SP too.
Yeah, which made it extremely hard when 358 Days and Recoded came out because I had to play without scan and without shortcuts.
Don't you need those for the camera
those are
in
like
358 over 2 days?
I think the camera could have been auto in that game. I'm not sure, but I did not use that. If
it was like 14, 15, whenever that game came out, year-old me didn't take it into consideration. Like hell, 25-year-old me now probably wouldn't take it into consideration. So yeah, it made playing those two games like fairly difficult. Recoded more so because there was a part that like hinged. There was a mini game that hinged on those L and R buttons, but I made the most of it all the same. And when I got my 3DS, like it was on because I could finally go back and like play those games a lot easier. Mm-hmm. Whatever game I couldn't play, I spent I spend a lot of like free time, like back then and even now, reading on wikis. So if there was a game that like I figured I was never going to get to play, or that I was like too interested in to wait, I would just read. So I played almost all the handheld KH games, and whatever I couldn't get a hold of, I just supplemented by like reading it on wiki online. You know, I definitely read some stuff that Eric's your name, right? I don't want to.
Yes, it's still Eric.
Yeah. So, just trying to make sure.
It's all right.
Eric definitely played a role in like putting together and making available. So yeah, if it came out on a Nintendo console,
you played it.
Yeah, which I mean in this case would be a handheld. I played it and beat it. Recoded system for Keyblades was awesome. I really want them to bring something like that back. I've played 1 and 2 at the very least, and I've actually helped somebody clear whose story. I helped a friend clear Terra's story in Birth by Sleep, but that's the extent of what I did with those 2 games before recently when everything came out. But yeah, I've just been interested ever since. And
have you you have not played a main title?
I have not finished a main title.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I'm honestly impressed because I would be very jaded if I only read like main title amounts of story on the wiki.
Oh yeah, nah, dog. I tell them all the time I'm fraudulent.
I mean, experience a game through a wiki. It's kind of a metafictional experiment.
And I get what you say too, because that's really how I got into Final Fantasy past 7. Because I would just read all the plot summaries, and then I would eventually buy the games and not remember anything about them because it would be like a 2-year gap between that.
And I mean, you got to understand, this was me not having owned a PS2, not having owned a PS3. So in my head, in my head at the time, I'm never going to get an opportunity to play these games. But now I have that opportunity. So it's like, oh, wow, look at that.
I am very excited for the idea of it coming to Switch. I don't think that it will.
I think it'll get a game. Nothing main, but like
at the very least, I feel like if we do get like anything on the Switch, it'll be probably like 1.5 and 2.5.
Gross.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm kind of jaded. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't even know if we'll get like a proper side game. It might be that Kingdom Hearts sleeps for a while, considering where Square Enix is now.
God.
Yeah.
Who's making the big money? Is it still 14 for them?
Probably 14, and the mobile games are what's making the big money.
Oh yeah, New Empire.
Yeah.
Wait, that's actually making more money?
That made like over $1 billion in revenue, I think, if I remember an article right.
Wow.
Though I do think that was a Kotaku article, so take it with a grain of salt.
Kingdom Hearts 3 made plenty of money too, isn't it? At like 5 million sales already, something like that.
Yeah, they broke 5 million a week ago,
Crazy.
I think. And that what did Final Fantasy 15 end up getting? Like 8 million, George?
I can most certainly look because I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I think they wanted to break 10 million at one point, and that was never going to happen.
Well, the thing is, like, it's hard to get proper good sales data anymore, considering, you know, so many of these things are downloadable. I wouldn't be surprised if it's ended up around 10 million. Whatever you get is probably going to be low.
Yeah. 15 topped 8.1 million as of September 7th of last year. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've probably gotten in there.
Yeah.
Like sales and people who go in and buy like other editions.
Mm-hmm.
But Kingdom Hearts 3 is doing really well for not having been out a month yet. I think it's caused a little bit of a schism in the fandom.
It definitely has.
And it's been really fascinating to me because I've never been on social media or at least involved with the KH fandom like at length like I have been for this release with other titles. and I'd heard that Dream Drop did the same exact thing when it released, and I can imagine why.
Yeah, it kind of did.
But this game has been extremely polarizing, not just for story content, which is usually like the thing that gets people. Because I mean, how do you live up to the hype of something that's been like building up to this particular entry for forever? But for like actual gameplay too, and like even before the release, the whole floaty, the bad word, the F word,
floatiness,
that particular F word was just being thrown around everywhere, and it was ridiculous. But really funny. But I think now's a good time, I guess, to give our own personal reviews of the game. I'll go ahead and start because I think that this will be a good segue into like how everyone else is reacting and like what we can find in the game as far as faults and good things. So let me start this off by just saying, I mean, obviously this is something that I never thought that I would live to see the day of it actually being physically in my hands. So the game, I think, for all of us had a significant amount of hype, and there was a lot of expectations. And for me personally, the cycle of hype for this game was really interesting for me because promotionally, I would see little snippets here and there, and they drop trailers or world reveals, and I'm like, "Oh, really? That's great! I want to play this game. I'm excited," but it wasn't real to me. Does that make sense? Like, to imagine this actually being in my hands, so I could look at it with like a grain. I could take it with a grain of salt and like not be super invested in it like I was with Birth by Sleep, where I thought that I needed a shoot of heroin in my veins. So that was okay for me because I thought I wouldn't be able to work like months up to the release because of how bad that experience was for me. Was not so. But I think it was around the time that they released. I can't remember if it was the E3 trailer or not. Maybe a little bit after. It was the one where it had a bunch of story scenes like back to back to back, and like every 2 seconds they were switching a frame to something else, and it was really good. And then I got really excited for the game, and that was when the contrarian opinions started popping out, talking about the content and the floatiness, and just they were trying. It was like the fandom was trying to poison its own hype because I think they were afraid that it was not going to meet those expectations they already had, so they were trying to downplay it, which I get it. That's normal.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I wish I would have done for the Phantom Pain when that came out, because I thought that game was finished.
Yeah.
Oh, words that kill.
Are you ashamed of your words and your deeds, at least?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I was really worried that it may go that way, but I thought that with the amount of love and care that the studio and the team at Osaka was putting into this title, that there's no way it could have been anything less than good. Maybe not outstanding, but at the very least, it would be good and it would be appropriate. And I was not disappointed. I played the game, got it at GameStop after having a heart attack about maybe not getting a copy because GameStop dropped my PlayStation 4 Pro order.
Oh no!
That's
one of the lucky that got screwed over with that.
That's
one of the 55%.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Lissa, I'm very happy you got yours. That was probably what made the experience very
I felt so bad
knowing that you got yours. Don't worry about it. It's one of those things where you kind of just have to roll with the punches, because I didn't have anything at that point, so I was willing to compromise for what I got, which is a normal.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yep. But I got the copy. I had it in my hands. It took me 2 hours to set up everything so that I could actually play it, because internet. And I played it, and I think my biggest I'll go ahead and just start with like complaints instead of a good thing. I think my biggest complaint with the game was that it was very obvious at times where the disc limitations were and where they kind of had to cut corners with, and I think a lot of that was pacing. I feel like the story in 1 and 2 were both more evenly paced and well-rounded, and I feel that Kingdom Hearts 3 took leaps and bounds in its story progression, and then would grind to a halt in certain worlds. Looking at you, Frozen. But I loved the game. I loved the combat. The option to switch strategies on the fly was a big thing for me. I played on Proud, and I had a lot of fun with that run. I have not 100%ed it yet. I'm trying to do a platinum run right now as we speak. But I think in terms of gameplay, the game is everything I expected it to be, because what they showed us from the time of like the initial reveal when they announced it alongside Final Fantasy Versus 13 being rebranded to 15, I think that it was everything that they promised it would be, and I'm A-okay with it. It feels good, feels pretty natural, and it's fun to play, and there's options in combat, and I appreciate that. And story-wise, I think I've mentioned this before, but being the ending of a franchise, well, not of the franchise, but of a chapter in a franchise that's been going on for, years and years, it's hard to like wrap everything up in a neat bow and give everybody what they want, because everybody's had time to kind of come up with their crazy theories and expectations of like how certain characters should interact and what we should learn and what they want things to be. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be exactly what we expect it to be. And I think that what we got, though, was pretty okay, if not amazing, except for a few parts. But I was really satisfied with it. I didn't expect the game to actually leave me wanting to play more, because I fully went into this like believing that this would be my last Kingdom Hearts game, and of course that's not the case. But
you thought that.
I thought that I'd be able to put it down and just say, "Hey, I don't need to play anymore. Like I've got what I wanted.
Wow.
This is what I've grown up with." But no, instead they just introduce 5 different plot points that don't even get resolved in the game, and I'm like, "Well, I guess I got to come back."
Well, you got to get back on that theorizing horse. This is what we did back in 2005
to get my weekly dose of heroin.
Yep. Now we can debate on the internet what's going to happen next for like 10 years.
Oh God!
I'm so excited for that, because that's the best part of Kingdom Hearts, for me at least. That's what made Final Fantasy 13 too bearable, is that I at least could have theory crafted until Lightning Returns came out and dashed all of my.
It didn't follow on any of it. It just did its own thing completely.
It just erased the formula and said, "All right, here we are. Play this game until you get to the final boss and start to enjoy it." But yeah, I think that my final review, without going into too much detail and the nitty-gritty, would be a 9.5 for me personally, and that's combat and story taken into account, and also my own expectations and what was realized in the final product. I think that it more than delivered. It definitely had its hang-ups and things that can be improved in future titles or in future DLC. But
Final Mix Boys.
It's A-okay. Whoever else wants to go next, just feel free to.
I guess I could go next. I'm a guest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So since I've reviewed this game already with 2,000 words, I will now read the entire review once again.
I'm glad that I didn't read that yet.
Yeah. So let's do a dramatic reading.
All right. Let's go.
We live in a year I'm told is called 2019. You would never guess that playing Kingdom Hearts 3. During the decade... All right, I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to do this the scattershot podcast opinion way. You know what? As much as people say that opinions on this game are split or divisive or whatever, I got the Kingdom Hearts game I expected, and it's the one that ultimately satisfied me. like leading up to this game, I had a bit of worry that this was going to be somewhat safe. The trailer seemed to be showing, well, this is Kingdom Hearts again. The combat is floaty. And I don't really know what the term floaty means. I don't know if there's a precise definition, but if there is one, it's Kingdom Hearts combat. Specifically, Kingdom Hearts 3 combat, where you literally can jam X and Sora will eventually spin the Keyblade fast enough that he propels himself up.
If it's there, you can hit.
Yeah, so I don't really have any problems with the pacing. The game I thought was shorter than a long campaign one of these should be. It was shorter largely because I never got stuck on any bosses. Like
that's a good point.
Yeah, I remember back in my younger days getting stuck against Riku for maybe a week or so, having to listen to his speech every single time because the cutscene's not skippable. Or even in Kingdom Hearts 2, I got stuck against, Zaldin and Zigbar, and they're pretty easy this time. That's fine. Like, I'm fine with a game being easy, even on Proud. I don't think that's particularly a negative. I don't know if there's really much of an issue in pacing because this game isn't really about its storyline until you finally get to the storyline. Until then, it's just like, hey, we're going to go do Disney Worlds for a while. And if you're not on board with them doing Disney Worlds, you kind of were never on board with Kingdom Hearts.
Good point.
Not to, I'm not going to go and draw a line in the sand and say I'm a true fan and you guys aren't. Because, like if you're disappointed in the game, you're disappointed in the game. And, that opinion's valid no matter what. I will say it's been nice getting in on Kingdom Hearts 3 early during those first couple of weeks when you were allowed to like it. Now that Donkey has decided that the game is bad, we're no longer allowed to like it.
He's spoken, though.
That's unfortunate. I'm going to have to find a way to change my opinion. But generally, you know what? I really like this game. After all these years of meandering plots and, internet arguments over what means this or why Roxas has 2 Keyblades, I've got into long arguments as to what that means. I'm glad to see everyone come together, even if it's in a somewhat rushed way, and their storyline arcs all getting resolved in a big, ridiculous end of the series shonen anime explosion of action.
God, I need to talk about how anime this game became.
Oh, this series has always been anime. It's all
it has, and it really took off in 2, with the introduction of the organization, and I always love how. Even I think Kingdom Hearts 1 was pretty self-contained and okay and didn't cross that line too much, but it got pretty anime towards the end. But also very Final Fantasy, I would say. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 took it to the nth degree.
Kingdom Hearts 2 opens with a straight up Twin Peaks-esque you have no idea what's going on. Even if you had played the last game, you had no idea what was going on. And you know what? I think that's what some people are disappointed about. The Kingdom Hearts 3 is kind of straightforward.
I've heard that too. It's not as complicated and convoluted because it's resolving plot threads and not creating too many.
Yeah, with 2, even if you had played Chain of Memories, the first 4 hours make no sense whatsoever. You have no idea what is going on. With this, it just starts straight up, Sora's doing his thing, and it kind of stays in that mode. And you know what? I think that's appropriate for this game. I think this is spiritually supposed to be the end of a trilogy. I mentioned that in my review. It feels like the end of a trilogy, and you know what? People always bitch about the last movie. People will bitch about Return of the Jedi. They'll bitch about Return of the King. They'll bitch about this, but that's fine. You know what? The world needs happy endings. So,
was it though?
Was it a happy ending?
Yes, it was a happy ending.
We will get there.
They went to the beach. That's all I can say.
Roxas went to the beach. And when I saw him on the beach, I started weeping instantly. I totally just lost it.
I will say that there was 2 points in the game, and I think I've told George this, or at least Alyssa, but 2 points of the game where I actively started sobbing and ugly crying, and I'm glad that I live in the back of my house where my parents can't hear me. But it was when after the fight with Syx, and Sora leaves,
Oh,
and there's like a moment where they're just all hugging and crying.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
yeah,
you
that was
see them together.
awesome.
I wept like a. I wept like my mother had died in front of me.
Oh
It,
my
it
God.
was devastating, and it was so heartwarming to see. Like, because that I would say that the Sea Salt trio is the one that I was the most emotionally invested with.
Yeah, we got a
game
whole
was the
game with them. Like,
And
ugh,
their development was very slowly paced, but it was very believable because of that.
But they
Yeah.
got it.
And people
we
hate.
saw the beginning,
ahead.
middle, end of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And people hate like the clock tower scenes of Days and talk about how it's so repetitive, but it's like stupid little moments like that that help you get characterization out of your characters. And
You know,
Roxas
Days is
has
amazing. Like I love the way that game is structured and paced out.
Mhm.
You have to play Days. Like, don't just watch the movie. Play the
Yeah.
whole game.
it is an experience in and of itself, and I'm ashamed that they weren't able to remake it fully. I hope that one day, maybe. Honestly, I'm hoping if they make a side game, that it includes Kairi, Shion, and Roxas to some extent. But that's just me pipe dreaming.
That'll be the Switch game right there.
But I really love that game. But I also cried at the ending when Don't Think Twice started, because I think at the moment that it started playing, I kind of figured what was about to happen because I had been kind of anticipating that throughout the entire final act, and then I was right, and then it just went to shit.
Yeah. With me, it was Roxas getting to the beach. Is because it goes back to Kingdom Hearts 2. When you have to do those terrible mini games to go and get the money to buy the pretzel to go to the beach, then you never do. You never get there. And then I'm like, oh my God, if Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't let me go to the beach, or if Kingdom Hearts 3 finally gets me to the beach, that stupid empty thread, I'm just going to lose it. And I did. I actually cried 7 times during this game.
Really?
Damn, son.
Yeah. I actually cried when I opened the package because I couldn't believe it was there. Like I built it up so much in my mind. I've written E3 posts on my blog for like 10 years now, and every single time there's always a section. Where the fuck was Kingdom Hearts 3? Where was it? And it's never there. And now that it's actually here, it's hard to believe. But it actually, it lived up to my expectations. So I'll give it. I don't really use numbers, so I'll give it a 7 cries out of 10.
Good.
Very good.
All right. Lisa, do you want to go next, or George?
I guess I'll go.
Okay.
So I think I was overwhelmingly satisfied with this game. Like, just waiting for it for so long, and then I know it was hyped to shit, but it did everything that I wanted and more. And even though I do have like a few things with like a particular character, like I have a few problems with.
Go ahead. I say it's Kairi. It's fine.
yeah, it was Kairi. I was just expecting a lot with Kairi, and I feel like they definitely like let me down in that sense. But everything else was just, oh man, like I do like the pacing for me was a little bit off, but I was able to totally like I wasn't thinking about that until after I'd played the game, and then I was like, oh yeah, it was kind of weird. Like it didn't really have a middle. And the hub world was a little bit strange because we went back for 100 Acre Wood, but we didn't have to go back for Remy all the time. I don't know.
I think, and just as an aside, I feel like revisiting worlds like that we did in 2 probably would have helped the pacing issue and maybe give more instances where they don't have to necessarily make something completely new, but give you something new to do and new things to hear or learn. And give.
I thought they were setting that up, revisiting Hub.
So did I.
Because they set up Pandora's box in Hercules World, and I'm like, oh, so that's got to be a plot point. We're coming back there. We're going to fight, I don't know, the final boss of God of War 3 or something. Wait, that's Zeus, isn't it?
That's Zeus.
Yeah, we're going to fight evil Zeus. But no,
that's never happened. Darkness.
I feel like if we had revisited worlds, I feel like that would have given more time for the characters to kind of be characters with each other, and specifically, I think for the Seven Lights, Aqua and Ventus, I think needed them desperately, and so did Axel. I think Kyrie had enough characterization because I feel like her characterization revolved around Sora. As bad as that sentence sounds, I think
it does. It sounds quite bad.
Yes, it sounds awful but that's how she's been written, and I think
that's just how she is.
Yeah,
I don't think that they're gonna change it. Honestly, I think we expected it to change, and it just didn't happen, and that's why a lot of people are just very.
I really think that the best way out of this is for her to get her own side game. I really think that now that she has the ability and the capacity to be a main character and a main heroine, put her in her own game, and that'll be fine. It doesn't have to be something huge.
Totally valid, but I don't know if Nomura is like interested in her as a character as much as some of the other ones.
It really depends.
And I'm just scared that
he wants to keep shoveling Riku in our faces, which is fine by me, but I know that that's one of his favorite characters, and my God, we'll keep getting Riku forever. It won't stop.
Which I was scared that he was gonna die because everybody kept saying that, and wasn't there like a leak or something back on 4chan that said, "Oh, he's gonna die," and so I remember that was a huge thing, and everyone was freaked out about that.
I didn't look at any reported leaks. I actively had.
I was told because my friends suck, but yeah.
I had my friend Ryan read all of the 4chan posts regarding Kingdom Hearts, and there was one guy that like was obsessed with the Master of Masters, and I don't know how right he actually got. I'll have to go back and ask like what the contents were specifically, but just like weird shit. But I didn't actually get into the whole leak thing. But I did anticipate Riku dying a little bit, but then I thought about it and I said, there's no way.
Yeah, like I was like, he's what, 16, 17? I don't know if they would do that, but then, you know, Sora, so I don't know.
But go on, Lissa. I think it tangented in your section.
Oh, no. I think if I were to give it like a rating, I'd probably give it maybe an 8.5 or a 9. I don't know, as close to 10 as it gets, but I don't know. It's hard for me to like rate a game. I don't know, and especially because I haven't 100%ed it yet. So
that's also valid.
Oh, I also did not 100% it. I only beat the final boss, and I screwed up how you save. So I have to beat the final boss again to open up the battle gates. And I kind of just don't feel like doing that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I just finished the battle gates.
The final boss or like the super boss just doesn't seem all that interesting because he's not Sephiroth, so I haven't done it. I may not.
A very valid thing.
Valid.
Because I will say this. Well, I'll get into this after. I'm going to let George finish his, and then we'll start talking about the pros and cons.
Yay. Oh, wait, was that also my cue?
Yes, that's your cue, George.
Yeah. All right.
Unload.
Okay, so full transparency, I'm going to open up with, and I mean, it's something I kind of already talked about earlier. I guess I don't have like as huge of an investment in the game nor the series. I mean, the copy I played wasn't even mine. It was
George is the one that sold the illegal leak.
Oh, whatever.
It's his fault.
Me owning an Xbox One copy, bruh. But nah, it was my girlfriend's copy that I bought for her for Christmas. But it's like, well, I bought it anyway, and she won't be able to play it yet. So let me go ahead. That said, following the development of this project, like a certain project before it, I kind of felt not necessarily the need to play, but I was definitely more than interested in, you know, being the lore diver like I am. I had to see how this saga closed out. My thoughts on it, separating it as like, I guess a game mechanically and as far as story. Mechanically, I absolutely loved it. I like that so many features returned the way they did, and I actually thought it was kind of funny. They open up telling you, oh, well, you know, Sora, you failed the mark of mastery. You lost a bunch of your powers. You need to go train with Herc to get them back. But you like start off with flow motion and reaction commands and form change and the whole nine. And I'm like, are y'all sure? I don't know.
You forgot the most important skill, which is heal.
Yeah.
It's the only one you need. You forgot that one.
Yeah.
At least you could still swallow a drink.
You can run up a wall.
Yeah.
For God's sake, you can run up walls.
Like he's out here with the parkour and everything. Like he has shot lock. But yeah, no, the combat and mechanics of it just being an amalgamation of just everything experienced over the years, except the cards, because those can stay where they are. The command deck, which is a little bit more convenient, but I guess, can't be the same as it was in like Burp, I Sleep, and Dream Drop. And the Keyblade system for Recoded, but that's just lost in time. But anyway, those three things aside, a lot of the combat and mechanics they brought back and or introduced just made the game that much more of an experience to play. The worlds were a lot bigger. It's kind of it's kind of a shame that I just kind of ran through the game like I did, because, definitely for New Game Plus, probably when it takes some more time. Well, not New Game Plus, but post-game. When it takes some more time to just kind of explore and look at everything. Like, they really made good use of that engine.
Mm-hmm.
The boss fights, and I hear a lot of people saying, like, oh, these boss fights are really easy and too easy. And I'm like, I don't think the boss difficulty is so much as you just have so much more to work with in this game.
That's probably the biggest thing in terms of like people's arguments against difficulty that I will agree with. Having that much option, maneuver about and attack with in combat, you have to be able to scale the enemies properly and have them be able to throw just as much shit at you as you throw at them.
Yeah.
And I feel like the game does that really well with certain enemies. But in particular, I think all of the humanoid bosses really suffer from that absolute, like, overwhelming force that is Sora. And combos and form changes and shot locks and attraction flow and giant pirate ships and Jesus. But I feel like all of the large scale Heartless fights were pretty good. There were a few that were really annoying. I'd say that Wind Titan was the most annoying fight in the game. Because I would say that personally, because I was not used to what's that
shot
mechanic
lock?
Called? Not shot lock up.
Oh, the
air step.
Air step, yeah.
That was I thought that you had to rely on that the entire fight, and I did not realize that you could freely move about. Until the very end. But
thought too hard about it, man.
It was
you played yourself, really.
I really did. I gave myself an unnecessary challenge, and I paid for it in blood.
Yeah.
Still didn't die, though.
I will say, and this goes without saying, especially for a lot of games, not really a fan of the underwater combat.
You know
That's
what?
fair.
I like the underwater combat.
So did I.
I think that it was a big improvement from what we'd gotten before in Atlantica.
Atlantica is my favorite world in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Jesus Christ. I called you Blue. That's how devastated I am.
You know what? I've called myself that so long that now it is also my name. It is my true name. If you're a mage, you can use it to have power over me.
Well, dang.
I appreciate underwater combat in this game because it's still magic centric. That's how you're going to deal the most damage, and optimize like your experience there. But it's still limiting, and I don't like the dodging mechanics underwater because I feel like that's where it really outstays its welcome, especially in the final boss fight where you have to avoid attacks or just continuously like pump out offense and then potions to compensate. I don't know. I get where George is coming from, though.
No, it wasn't. And you know, I didn't fight in Atlantica, so maybe if I did, I would appreciate this more. But I guess I don't think playing something that was more jarring to go through than that should maybe justify what that still is, at least for me anyway. So, you know,
No, yeah, that's understandable.
y'all enjoyed it. That's perfectly fine and everything. I felt similarly about Air Combat, honestly. The boss fight in the Caribbean where you're jumping on heartless backs to shoot down
the bird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, where you play Rogue Squadron 2 against the bird.
Yeah. Exactly.
The fun Lord of the Skies fight.
The most fun I had in that fight was jumping off the heartless back to heal, because that meant I didn't have to deal with that for a second. If I fell to my death, fine. Anything was better than dealing with that. And also,
I didn't know you could jump off to heal until like the last possible second. Like I was almost going to die, and I jumped off.
Yeah. Because, God, what was it? Because it was like, oh, you could shoot the other ones down to get heal orbs. And I was like, nah, I'm not healing fast enough. I need to think.
It doesn't work on Proud, really.
Yeah. And so jumped off, cast Cure, and then like air stepped onto another one. And I was like, all right, cool.
This
I
fight
figured
just
you couldn't do that because Kingdom Hearts 2, one of the final boss phases is a shoot 'em up section.
Yeah.
Where you have to survive all the phases, no heal.
Shmups are weird.
They learned from their mistake.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mechanics, combat, what the heck's afloat? I don't know. Talked about bosses. That was as much as I could talk about as it like mechanically as a game. It looks great. It plays great. It's definitely the effort worth put. It's definitely worth the time put in, and that effort shows. As far as story, okay, I got some. I don't have any gripes, but I'm also just like, what?
The secret movie's what shook George the most.
Oh.
Yeah, but we're not about to skip all the way there just yet. I don't know. The same thing I mentioned, and I guess it's kind of nitpicky. The same thing I mentioned with mechanics, to where it's like, hey, we tell Sora, he's a little punk, but in reality, he's kind of just out here doing the most. I'm like, is this a real hero's journey? Is he really learning, or is he just kind of already doing the thing? And
I mean, he can't count.
He still can't count. No.
Canonically cannot count, and that is my favorite thing.
Ben can't read.
Okay, he's a shonen hero. Right. Goku can't count. Naruto can't count. Luffy can't count. You don't need to count. You just need the power of friendship, or Super Saiyan-ness, or Emperor's Haki.
That is definitely what it seems like.
And a bottomless stomach.
Oh yeah, he doesn't eat that much. That's the one thing that separates him from the other shonen heroes.
I will say I won't say I was underwhelmed, but I will say I was just kind of like I was left wanting. And I feel like a lot of that just has to do with the fact that the mobile game is still constantly getting updated and isn't really as far as it should be, because you have the point where Xemnas is talking to Demix and the others, and he's like, oh, well, I picked the first 8 because the apprentices, and then Leon Isa, and then Roxas speaks for itself. Why do you think I picked 9 through 12? And everybody's like, huh? Oh, I get it. And then you don't hear about it for the rest of the game. And I guess I shouldn't have expected anything, but the way it was just brought up when it was.
Such a tease.
And then like nothing again after that. I was just like,
bless you.
Well then.
Thanks. I was really I was really upset that they didn't go into more detail about that specific plot thread.
You darn skippy.
But I think in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. And hear me out. I think that Nomura knows that not a lot of people appreciate that substantial amount of story is in the mobile game, lore and what have you. But I think that running on the assumption that you have to have had played up to that point to understand anything that was going on was a bad idea. And I think that keeping you titillated without spilling or without showing his entire hand and like erasing the need to actually go and play the mobile game, or at least look up cutscenes for reference, I think that was a good idea. Did it frustrate me? Yes, but I think from a director's standpoint, if you want people to, explore your universe and play your other products and not absolutely overwhelm them with information that you think they should know, but they don't, I think that was smart.
I agree with your words, but not where you put them. Like,
all right.
I
just shit all over me. That's fine.
No. Let me explain what I mean by that. I knew this was gonna happen. As the least invested person, everything I say is gonna sound like nah. I definitely agree that not just dumping the exposition and creating some kind of incentive to kind of like goad people to even spark maybe even a little bit of interest in the mobile games is a good idea. I do not disagree with you on that. What I mean by where you put them is that in regards to this, while that's a good thing to do, I don't think what happened in that situation was a good way to do it, because to everyone else, because like, I understand that comes from the mobile game, Lorium, all of them, I can go back and look, but to anyone else maybe not as aware, it's just gonna sound like, oh, but what about this?
Yeah.
And then bye. with no means of pointing, with no means of like.
You mean like the entire section with the Union Cross fight?
Exactly.
Oh, that was awesome, though.
I love
awesome,
that
though.
much. I jumped up and down and screamed at the television.
Was your name one of the names up there?
No.
Oh, mine was actually crazy.
Mine was.
Really?
Wait,
yeah.
what?
I didn't even play the
so
game,
cool.
but there was a blue there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm there in spirit. I'm fighting
I wholeheartedly want to believe it was mine, and it was one of the only times, like, because I didn't really get emotional about anything in the game, unlike Tullian, that whole Keyblade Graveyard segment. I saw my name, or what I want to believe was me. I don't know any other Takahiros, but like,
do you want me to break your heart?
Like, no, give me a second.
Okay.
You know what? If you believe it was you, because we were all there in spirit.
That's not how reality works.
And it wasn't even because it was my name and it felt special, but that moment already gave me like vibes of Nier Automata ending E, and I was just like,
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I thought of.
Yeah. It's like at that point, I stopped seeing myself and everyone else who played Union Cross, and I just started seeing everybody who played Nier, and it's just Song of the Ancients playing in my head. And
it was a good time. I think for as little as it explained, I think that was such a nice nod and a special way to like reward people.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it was not your name. It was someone that had a name similar to yours, because the only way you got in the game was there was a high score event, and I think only the top like 250 got in.
How you know? I might have sold my account.
Well, good point.
Well, clearly I'm one of the top 250 of Union, whatever this game is, because I was there.
I'm happy, Blue.
Yeah. I was there too. Good to see you there.
Yep. You just got to get on our level.
Yeah.
Fire Knight.
It's true. Oh God, I haven't been called that in a long time.
Sorry, I remembered your handle. I forgot your human name.
Brian.
Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
No, it's fine. I like it. There's no one's called me that in a long time. We started the podcast and we wondered if we should call each other by their handles, but
I was gonna say
No, that's a 10-year ago internet thing. Now everyone goes by their real names because the internet is the real world.
Exactly. We don't have to hide anymore.
No.
Brian,
And it's too late. They'll find you anyway.
Exactly.
Somebody called you that last month because you entered tournament when you came and visited. And
that's right. That awful Smash tourney experience I had.
No, it's fine. It builds character.
It does. I've lost one of those too. Yeah. It hurts.
Rolling off what I was saying about like the loose ends and full of holes. That was another thing. Ephemer just kind of like
peaced out.
Hey, you need a hand? Here go these people.
I'm dead.
Oh, I thought that was supposed to be your character from the game, that dude. I'm like, oh, that must be the mobile character dude. He's somebody else?
No, he's actually... okay, so a little history lesson for Blue. So without going into too much detail, because everyone makes that mistake on online videos for Kingdom Hearts. So Union Cross is canonically after the events of the Keyblade War. Do you remember the browser game?
You know what? We don't have time to go into all this. I have an hour-long YouTube video to watch. I know.
Yes. Yes. Basically, there's 5 new Union leaders besides the foretellers.
He's that guy. Okay, he's the white-haired guy. He's not your All right, I understand now.
Yeah.
He's not a player character.
Okay.
There we go. That was quick. Turn up.
So he showed up, and I was super happy.
But George has been threatening to come to a conclusion, and we've been stopping it for a while now, I think.
I think he's been stopping himself some.
Yeah, I haven't been stopping myself, Brian. You don't realize it, but you do this every cast. That's why I haven't said anything.
Okay, I admit everything.
This happens to me all the time.
It's true. Go ahead.
Ephemer and Cherothy, for the love of God.
Oh, God.
It's like, yeah, my friend probably doesn't recognize me. And then you get to the end, and then it's like, Ventus is like, yeah, I remember you. You're my friend. And we're still like, hey, why was Ventus there all that time ago? And why is he here now? Are we going to...
Wait, the star was Ventus?
Yep.
No.
No.
The star wasn't Ventus.
I thought the star was the robot from Darling in the Franxx, Sterlitzia.
Yikes.
Oh my god.
I actually knew way more than I did. I was just making conversation.
The little teddy bear thingy voiced by Kari is Cherothy. And the friend that she was talking about was Ventus. And at the end, Ventus is like, yeah, and it's like, we still don't have any explanation for why Ventus is around in Union Cross, but at the same time in the present, and why he still looks like a twink. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Last few things. I know, Brian. I'm gonna get to the end of this, and then you can let it all out.
No, I'm just saying he's ancient. I had that thought.
Yeah, he's ancient, but he don't look it though, not one bit. I did find out that of the stars that talk when you're in purgatory, that's what it is.
Heaven.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The Tiger Moogle is God. That's my theory.
Cherothy is God.
Cherothy actually is God. That's what I've discovered.
When you're dead AF and you're talking to stars, before you talk to nominate stars, there is another one. And I went to both wikis, and I'm just like,
yeah, no one knows who that is.
Yeah, there's no explanation for who that is.
My theory is that it's Sterlitzia.
I think it is more obvious in the Japanese dialogue. I think people are saying that it's way more obvious that it's Sterlitzia.
Okay.
In the original, yeah.
Cool. All right. That answered that question for me. Thanks, localization team, except not really.
Yeah, there's like a lot of localization issues that people are having.
They prayed the gay away a lot and a lot of
yeah.
I don't know what that is. What are you referring to there?
In particular, just how Riku refers to Sora and language used and like the English translation kind of softened the intensity of the emotion.
Wait, so it's even more homoerotic in the original? Because like Sora and Riku, like it is burning. I know Sora and Kairi, Sora and Kairi are the canon. They have to get together eventually, but like in the meantime, like Sora and Riku, like it is hot and it is heavy.
They're
not necessarily in this game, but in 2. Definitely in 2.
Yeah. Definitely in 2 and Dream Drop.
Dream Drop this.
It has to be Sora and Kairi, or else, you know, if they get too Japanese with it, Michael Eisner's gonna call us goons and they're gonna roll out. But
Disney's gonna
the thing Brian kept throwing out where he was letting y'all know that my investment was very limited until the secret ending. Or are we going to talk about the secret ending separately? Because if not, I'm going to go ahead
and talk about it briefly now, and we can just like theory craft and at the end.
Okay. So I saw Yuzora, the name of the ending, not the name of the character, but I guess I saw him too. And man, I laid awake at night after watching that. Like,
what does it mean?
The game, the game was a nice ending and everything, and it was like emotional and like that was good. That was a wild ride. I guess we'll find out more later. And then I saw that ending, and my boy was in Shibuya, and I saw the 104 building, and I'm playing Tui right now, and God. And if that wasn't enough, because I'm really enjoying The World Ends With You right now. I see the bit where Yozora's looking down,
and you hear,
and Riku's walking up, and I hear like the first 3 notes of Somnus. And,
oh my God!
Moment for me, because I really thought that they were about to do it and have like a confirmed Final Fantasy world in Kingdom Hearts, but they like stopped short of it. We knew it
died for this game.
You know what? Considering 15, I'm willing to accept 13 dying for this game.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
The World Ends With You died for this game too, because I don't think that's coming back.
You know what? This is his way of bringing that.
Bro, it just came out again a couple months ago. What are you talking about? Brian,
the power of making is transcended to reality, and we're reviving dead franchises.
This is Nomura's way of leaving Kingdom Hearts hostage. He's like, unless you bring back Twelly, unless I get my Twelly too. Twelly, that's how you pronounce it. Unless I get my The World Ends With You too. I'm not going to make Kingdom Hearts 4. I have to get Versus 13
This is what he wants to make. I mean, go for it, man. Go ham.
That's how he got Pixar in this game.
Jordan, thank you for sticking around and listening in the chat. You have a good night. Love you, boy.
We actually had someone commenting. That's a
first. We had a few people who said they will watch. I think Steven hopped in at some point, and I just been talking to Jordan in chat.
All of the views that we have usually are post publication.
Yeah, it's normally after the fact, but we got some live people.
But yeah, what's your final score, George? I want to like go ahead and like end that thread because I don't want to keep interrupting you.
I give it a Versus 13 out of 10. It's a solid. I give it a solid 9.
Okay.
Solid 9. That's not a George 9, but I gotta put George aside and look at it for what it is, and it's a good bookender.
I think that you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So before we get into like the crack theories and stuff like that, I think we're just gonna do like a little mini lightning round of like things we do and don't like, and just like list off like high points. And I'll start. What do you guys think about the Disney worlds in general and their structure? I
think they're as good as these Disney worlds have ever been in these games. I think Pretty
I
much
agree.
all of them are really good. I wasn't in love with Monsters Inc. and Toy Story, but otherwise, I think Pirates of the Caribbean is like fantastic. That's like the best world this series has ever had, easily.
I think
I'm in agreement.
I think that Toy Box was promoted a lot, and I think we saw a little bit too much of Toy Box. And I didn't like how slowly that world panned out. But I also did not like the music that played in the background, and I've harped on this forever and ever.
Nostalgia for Toy Story.
You don't like You Got a Friend in Me on repeat?
I'm sorry, I don't like Toy Story.
You don't like Toy Story?
The original. I like Toy
It did
Story
get
2 so
repetitive.
much.
Oh man, I picked the wrong podcast to be on.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry, you're the only podcast that would ever invite me on. So don't.
Oh.
Oh wow.
We love you, Eric.
Thank you.
Or at least I do. But I do think that people complain about Frozen being really bad. I think that the landscape of Frozen was pretty bad because it was easy to get lost, and I think that after a while, like, you can only do so much with blizzard environments, which I think that the environments at the beginning where it was nighttime, and I think the what was it called, the Ice Labyrinth, I think that was amazing.
I thought the Ice Labyrinth was bad. Like,
I thought that was fun because I thought it added extra atmosphere to something that I didn't expect for a world.
It just like it had the environments were really flat, and it was just like a really bland JRPG dungeon, which series didn't really need. Also, I hate the what are those? The witch enemies that shoot lasers.
Yeah,
they're about the most annoying thing in this game.
The antebellum Gone with the Wind enemies.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I get that.
Mary
I think
Poppins.
that Corona was the best world in this game.
Best.
It was absolutely beautiful.
That's Tangled. Yeah. Corona's dear to me.
Yeah, I had forgotten what the name was myself, and so it was like the Kingdom of Corona, and I'm like, what?
Wait a minute.
I don't think they ever called it that in the movie.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I think that was probably my favorite just because I love Tangled, and I was anticipating that one the most, and I'm really happy that turned out to be like the best Disney World, typically by consensus, with just like what you can do and how pretty it looked and how it sounded and gameplay. I really ended up liking Monsters Inc. a lot, and I don't know what it was because it was a pretty straightforward world and it didn't throw anything like too wild at us, but I think that it followed that Birth by Sleep formula of where it was just kind of you dropped in and you kind of go, and it was pretty linear, and I enjoyed it. I think that it was the right size. I liked the music. I liked the cutscenes. Yeetus Vanitas was amazing.
Vanitas.
But I enjoyed it a lot, and I think the biggest disappointment was Pooh, because if anybody knows me, I live, breathe, and worship anything that's Winnie the Pooh related.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant Boo, the little girl, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
so
no.
did I.
No, all she was just ripped sound bites from the movie.
Kitty.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike Wazowski.
I really was disappointed that like 100 Acre Wood did not get the love that it needed. It really did feel tacked on.
Where was Eeyore?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. And
Eeyore is my favorite character. Why is Eeyore not there?
Didn't get any lines either.
They replaced him with Lumpy.
Yeah, like Eeyore, like I imagine he's somewhere out in the background. He's just like, yeah, I would have just gotten in the way. I would have just been a downer. I'm glad I wasn't in anyway.
I wasn't relevant to the plot anyway. But I mean, I liked how it looked, but not being able to explore or at least do other mini games. God, I hated the mini games of that world.
You don't like Bejeweled?
No. No, what are you
Bruh,
talking
that
about?
was like lightning round Bejeweled. That was amazing. Once I found out you could hold the button.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You can? Shit.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well, I
know
was
that.
doing it so slowly.
It was it was an experience, but it was weird because there was obviously story significance to it. Because I think he talked about like, oh, our bond's gotten weaker, but then it just kind of ends, and it's like, oh, well, I guess we're cool, and that was it. I would have enjoyed being able to explore more of the 100-Acre Wood just because of my personal preference in Disney properties.
Yes, actually, I think so.
But what about you, everybody else?
Sounds like somebody's moving, but
sorry. You said Disney Worlds, right?
Yeah.
I could have something I thought that was weird was weird, but also like, hey, cool thing I noticed how you get some of the worlds where, all right, you have to play through the entire plot of the movie, and it's like, oh, okay. Yep. And then other ones, it's like, hey, here's some good original content.
Supplemental reading.
Yeah. It was kind of brought to my attention that we never actually played through the plot of Hercules because there was always, and they even bring this up in the game. It's like, yeah, Hades tried to something, power of darkness, use the Heartless, and failed every time. So we're just going to go with the original plan and play through the plot of the movie because I guess we're out of ideas. Which, I mean, that's normally never a bad thing, especially as a way of like kind of formally introducing players to the series who might not have seen the films before. Although I say all that to say I could have gone without playing through the plot of Frozen.
Yeah.
But nothing made me laugh like Elsa singing Let It Go and Sora staring for like 5 seconds after and being like, well, I don't know what the hell that was, but
yeah, sure, why not?
Wow. Yeah, sure am, Eddie.
As an aside, I really like the pre-rendered scenes in this game because I know that they said that they had to make a few of them pre-rendered to work with like space limitations on the disc because they were running out of room.
Oh yeah, FMV boys.
They looked good, like really good.
It's hard to tell what's pre-rendered and what's actually just an engine. You have to like you got to stare at the eyes. The eyes will pop out more in the FMVs.
Honestly, with scenes that had Goofy, he was always the telltale for me because his skin like became a different shade, and it was a little bit like glassier. Does that make sense? Like there was a little bit of a misty.
Yeah.
We've come a long way since Final Fantasy VII, where it would turn into a completely different art style for the FMV.
I miss those days.
Do you really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I never actually experienced them in real time. I can say that. I played that game years later, but I really I was a big fan of boss variety, I'd say. Specifically the Mad Dash that was that Fenrir boss at the end of Frozen.
Oh, that one was actually pretty hard.
I sweated a little bit. It was great.
That was the first boss that I came anywhere near dying to, but I still managed to get through it. I did cheese.
I did die because I whiffed the reaction command, situation command. Yeah, I whiffed on the reaction command, and so he got like the instant KO thing or whatever.
Oh no.
Where the world falls on your head.
You didn't have a Kupo coin?
At that point, I don't believe I did.
I had to like make a decision and just be like, you know what? I'm not buying the Kupo coins.
I bought it and then I
figured out
what it did later, and then I forgot I had it until I got to the secret boss.
I lost mine to a witch in Frozen World and then never bought another one.
I would lose mine by accident just from like, oh, hey, press this button wrong or press this at a different time than I meant to. And then it just snowballed from there.
I do appreciate like how safe this game will let you be if you just like plan out your attack pattern, specifically with attraction flows, because those are really not safe in terms of combat. But I think that they have enough practicality as far as damage output. I don't know. I just appreciated things like that.
For them things, safe AF. I broke into somebody's house and took their lunch money with it.
Pirate Shiv is really safe, but you still have a hitbox on it. But everything else, I think it's pretty easy for an enemy that's like larger than Sora to just come in and say, "All right, here's the slaps."
Here's the slaps.
I don't know. I appreciated that. And the form changes, I think, for the Keyblade, a little bit busted. Especially, I think, Ever After and Wheel of Fate.
Oh my god. Ever After was that deal, son.
I used Highwind most of the time, so.
Of course you did.
Yeah, but it's also like
Yeah.
it's a spear, so you have crazy range on top of this game that lets you combo like infinitely.
You also
Honestly,
have
I use the frozen one so that I can move around and have like an attack dodge, because I think that's what it was. I went with Highwind just for reach and the finisher with the flag and the Kraken and whatever. I like that, but
oh
I
yeah,
also
that's a good
Blade
question
for range. And also, I'll let it be on record that I beat Xehanort with Pooh's Keyblade out of principle.
Okay, nicely done.
Nice.
Weird flex, but okay.
No, it was a weird flex. I feel like, do you know like what a breath of fresh air it was to have a combative like a combat like viable like Keyblade from Pooh? It was great.
Okay, so did anybody know that if you got the Bistro up all the way to 5 stars, you got a Keyblade from that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
the food minigame?
Yeah.
All right, well, what happened with that is I had a few eggs, and I tried to do a recipe, and the eggs broke every time.
Look,
And I'm like, you know what? I'm good on this. And then I
with
never
you,
touched
bruh.
it again.
I am with you. But
I
yeah.
had the most trouble with flambe.
I'm like, I could just go and cook some eggs in real life, and it's not going to be this hard. Why am I doing this here? And then I get to eat what I need. Not, minor buffs in a game where I don't need them anyway.
Did anybody actually use cooking?
Yes.
Like twice.
Yeah, like I think maybe once or twice, and
I like forced myself to do it.
I felt bad for doing it, so I stopped.
I'm used to it from 15 and other games that let you do similar things. So I was just like, well, yeah, let's cook a meal, let's get these buffs, let's get this bread.
I think once I end up doing a level 1 run, I'll appreciate it a lot more. But at this point in time, it felt like overkill to put on extra magic buffs to a magic centric game.
That is a go ahead.
I was just saying that like picking a magic route like in this game was really the way to go for me, and adding like cooking on top of that to like further buff MP and whatnot. Yeah. I just felt like it was a little bit unfair.
That's a segue to a question that I wanted to ask everybody. What was your build going through?
I went Mystic route to get like higher MP, and then I picked the Guardian ability set.
Okay.
So that I could survive.
I picked Sword in Kingdom Hearts 1 and have gone that way ever since. So I went attack and defense. I don't know what that actually translates to. And mostly use physical attacks, but I also spam magic when I had the opportunity. But yeah.
Yeah. That's like exactly what I did.
What about you, George?
I went balanced and then picked the sword thinking, physical character action combos, we're going to do it. And then I did nothing but like unleash magic for most of the game. So it's like, I could probably have been done with this a lot quicker.
I think the magic set of abilities are really good this time around. Like there's a lot of like combo. There's one ability I think that like increases the damage of a magic attack like based on how far into a combo you are.
Yeah.
And that combined with like an accessory, I think, for getting all the lucky emblems, like that gives you an endless magic combo, makes it stupid good.
Sora, I think I see a lucky emblem.
God.
I could never find them when they said that too. I'd like stop dead. I'm like, where on earth is this thing that he sees? I could never find them.
It was in the jail of Port Royal. It was that stupid emblem on that cannonball.
Yeah.
I spent a good 20 minutes like scouring the inside of that dimly lit prison trying to find this lucky emblem and being so frustrated that I didn't have a flash on my camera. And it was right there the whole time. But
feels bad.
I think. Oh yeah, I have all of them now because I used a guide. But yeah, I went through the entire game like trying to find them as fairly as I could, and then when it came to places like San Francisco and the Caribbean, like I just gave up.
Oh yeah, at that point, you're talking about like worlds that are as big as all of Kingdom Hearts 1's worlds combined into one space.
San Francisco, can we talk about how short that was just for a sec?
I have no problems with that.
It was so tiny. Not tiny in scale, but like just in content. And I wasn't unhappy with it.
No, like I was fine with that.
Yeah. Like, it was
for some reason.
I think it was because we were so close to the end of the game, like having a world that like lasted all of I think 25 minutes, like with consistent play, and like no real reliance on exploration beyond what you want to put into it. I think that's what people wanted at that point.
Yeah, I'm glad that you don't have to do too many of those Superman 64 solve the maze ring things. So,
I'm glad you said that though.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one that was thinking.
It's like thinking that immediately. Like, all right, Superman, if you want to save your friends, solve my maze.
Stop this car.
Yeah.
But I think what was the one thing that I hated the most in this game?
Is that our next question? What you hated the most?
Yes.
Okay. You can go.
Fine. I'm glad that you anticipated this. I need some more time to think, though, so someone else can go.
I'll go. Significant lack of Final Fantasy.
And there we have it.
Good point. Good point.
I could have used Balthier in the Pirates world.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, like everybody was saying Ignis with Remy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all Jahari would bring up every time somebody was like, yeah, we could find some new ingredients here. And it's just like, I want Ignis to kick a door down and go, I've come up with a new recipe.
Oh my gosh, that would have been amazing.
Honestly, if he would have been blind too, that would have made it funnier.
Okay, you stop that.
I thought that would have been great play between the rat that controls people who can't cook and he can't see. I thought that would have been nice.
You think it too much.
I'm trying to think if anything really pissed me off in this game. Like there weren't any like really annoying mini games like there've been in other games. And
all of them were entirely optional too, I think.
Yeah. If there's anything I hate, we've already talked about this already, but Kyrie getting fridged at the ending. That's the one thing that I'm in any way angry about. Just don't. Like you could have written that like 18 other ways where Kyrie somehow or another gets trapped because I'm the Princess of Light, so I have to go and use my powers to get you into Kingdom Hearts, and then I get trapped in whatever nonsense. Like have her do something active.
Have her die fighting at the very least. Like that.
I mean,
that would have been my solution, is to have her at least like get a legitimate fight and just get beat, and that would have been fine.
How about playing this?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Aerith had a more justified, like, active death, and it worked. But this one is just oof, big oof.
Aria from Final Fantasy 3 had a more active death.
Yeah.
Funny story. That's what I'm playing right now, currently.
Luna Freya from Final Fantasy 15. Well,
no,
actually,
I don't know about.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, that's just as bad. Luna Freya sucks.
Stella had a more stressful death for sure.
Everybody was upset about that. I feel like what made that particular snub the worst, like feel worse at least, was the line, "You require motivation," and they just kind of spelled it out there, and that left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That's the Broly movie right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
It's terrible.
The Broly's dad sucks.
Yeah.
So like, I don't feel bad about him at all. In this thing, like the ending of this game, like overall, everything about it is really positive, even to the point that the Organization 13 members, most of them aren't even evil anymore.
No, they're
just like, oh, sorry, you killed me. Yeah, we've done this before.
I'm the only one that got like oddly emotional when Ansem like died, like Seeker of Darkness Ansem.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Because he was like, look, I just don't care anymore. Like, hey, roll tide, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh god. Zemnis is just like, you know what? I fucked up.
It made me feel awful.
Wait. I think I could probably do Zemnis. And now, in the end, all I feel is loneliness.
I have nothing left.
Nothingness is eternal. We're kind of hitting a randoming sort of period, and we're almost at 90 minutes. So, should we have like final thoughts, or where do we go from here?
I think theories.
Okay.
Would be good. Does anybody have any like particular questions on key plot points, or crackpot theories that they want to share with the class? Because I have a few, and I have one at least that I want to get out. But I think most of us will probably have the same ones.
I could say one thing about theories is that I have no theories. Actually, I have no idea where they're going with it, and I've kind of reached a point where mystery box plotting, it's interesting and juicy in that there can be crazy twists, but I only tolerate it as long as the twists are not the point itself. Like Kingdom Hearts never has become lost, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad that ultimately it comes down to, you know what, these are characters that we like, and we're glad that they're on the beach. Not, oh, what's the next crazy thing? Oh my god, what do the numbers mean? Like maybe that's Kingdom Hearts for some people, but it's not Kingdom Hearts for me.
Yeah, I think you have a good point. For me, it's more of a combination of the two. But I think at the end of the day, this is a story, and these are characters that I like to spend time with. And that I've grown up with, and I've seen them develop over time, and I'd rather see them interact than see crazy plot twists.
Okay, but you had crazy plot twists in mind, though.
I do.
Okay.
So does anybody else want to go? I don't want to steal all the spotlight with my shilling.
Theories. We are going to get some kind of weird flashback saga. Maybe not like a full thing like what we got with this saga, because Jesus, this was like what, 11 games? Mm-hmm. But something akin to like 10. A gamer 10. Okay, something akin to just Birth by Sleep, just kind of a one-off that further expands on things that are present in the mobile game, but that people probably aren't going to play the mobile game to figure out, or maybe a little something extra. Also, that, go ahead. I heard that.
I heard somebody kind of make a breath too, but
yeah,
I guess they don't want to go.
Oh,
I promise it wasn't me.
It wasn't me either.
Maybe it was me, and I just didn't know I did it.
Goes to podcast past.
Yeah, it's actually just Shelly. He popped in.
Do we know, or do we think Sora's dead? Like physically dead?
I don't think anyone can die in Kingdom Hearts. Like,
you say
except for Xehanort and Ericus. I guess they're technically dead. But.
Once upon a time, I would have said that, but since the final world was introduced in the game, like we know that the concept of an absolute death exists. It's just really hard to get to, apparently.
Yeah.
Axel said word for word.
You can't axe me.
Yeah.
I'm too popular.
Straight up tongue in cheek, he said, I'm still here because of the fans. And that's exactly why he's still here.
Yeah, that is.
I think
paused and threw things when he said that.
I think Sora is dead, and I think he's in the Reapers game.
He's at the ending of Chrono Cross is what he is.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, Sora's dead, and that's why he's in Shibuya.
Yeah.
So, did anybody read the secret reports?
I did, but I forgot them already.
I just want to point out that in one of them, it's hinted by Zigbar/Luciu, which, by the way, that twist was amazing.
It was awesome. It was the best thing ever.
I was gonna say, okay.
But it was explained that, or kind of hinted at, that there's such a thing as like different world lines and alternate universes with key points changed and Steins Gate references. But I think personally that Sora is dead in this world line. Technically, he cannot exist in it anymore. But I think that due to the power of waking, because I think they mentioned that it was a way to traverse hearts to worlds, and not worlds to hearts, that he has somehow managed to cross into a different world line, and that's how he ended up in the Reapers game. And in Final, I think that Riku has somehow managed to get into it too, and that's why we're seeing more Square Enix property or inspired environments in the secret ending. So I thought that perhaps may have been a solution.
That was also something I was wanting. Like,
yeah,
more Square-centric Kingdom Hearts entries.
I'm down for that.
Me too.
I'm like so ready.
I just need like
throw Treasure Planet in there if you really need to, but like
everything else.
Worlds, the rest of them are just playing through all the Final Fantasies again.
Yeah.
Can I have a John Carter of Mars world? Because I really like that movie, and no one else does. It's just for me.
Is that a Disney property?
I have never even heard of it.
Yeah, it came out in 2012. Yeah. It was a massive flop. It starred Taylor Kitsch.
Oh.
Yep.
I know I want to watch it.
You don't have to.
You don't have to subject yourself to that.
I heartily recommend it. It is a very good space opera movie.
I guess.
Anyway, your theory, I think we were halfway through.
Yeah, well, that was it for the first one.
Okay.
My second biggest one that I wanted to talk about is everybody keeps asking, well, how was Shion even revived and put into the new Organization 13 when she should have been inside Sora's heart? And I have an explanation that I don't know is right. And I'm waiting on the interview that will eventually come where Nomura explains like the finer points of the lore, like he does in every game. But what I'm working off of is that, okay, so you know how nobody like is supposed to remember that she even existed at all, but somehow
who's Shion?
Yeah, somehow Zimnis though like is aware of who she is and like what she did in the past games, and he's the only one that makes comment on it, but no one else does. Not even the rest of the organization. I think that in days after she fought Axel and he brought her back to the castle and Zimnis picked her up and like hauled her off to like tamper with the replica, that he did some Xehanort essence transplanting and maybe did something to himself too. That maybe
he Norded her.
I think that he low-key Norded her, and that's how they were able to take her from that time frame and then pluck her heart out of that time and then put it into the future and lock it into a new vessel. That's my take.
When Sora... Sorry, go on, sorry.
No, that's fine. So that's why Xemnas remembers her, because they were both yanked from the same time frame while he did that, I'm assuming. And the only reason that she was able to regain her real self and face is because Sora, who had the memories inside him, came into contact with her, and then the name came up, and then, you know, the tears and the reunions and yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's actually a really, really good... Like, that's the best one I've heard so far.
That's the best way I can, like, come up with an explanation.
Did something with her, like, at the end of the game. But
yeah.
In 3 days, so...
Okay, my theory on that, I just came up with one.
Okay.
All right, that Shion that was there, that was the Shion they always intended to have as just like an empty vessel with a Keyblade. And then when she ran into Sora and Roxas, that filled her up with Shion's ness that was inside of them.
Oh.
So that translated into her. So she actually had no face until she took the hood off. And then she was...
Okay.
So you're saying that like his influence, even though they weren't the same person, she became the same person because it
She became Shion when she was there. Before that, that was just a thing that they had that they time traveled over.
Number 14.
Yes.
No, I.
It's all nonsense. So whatever.
Yes.
I don't care what the reason is as long as Shion's back and she's eating sea salt ice cream.
And on the beach with Nominate. God, that was cute.
Oh, it was so good.
Everybody's outfits though, like hell yeah.
Yep. Isis is the only one that I was like, oh, hey.
He's wearing like a jacked jacket or something.
His collar is popped and he is rocking it. Does anybody else have anything else? I have 2 more.
But you have 4 theories?
Yes. I made a list.
Nomura was very up. God almighty. I'm also playing Tetris 99. I'm so sorry. Nomura was salty about having to stop versus 13, so this is about to be his last chance.
Yeah. I think there's definitely something
going
on there.
Some of that there. And I'm not even saying that to mean, just like the way some of this stuff is placed, it's very obvious that he's
invested.
When moving from one project to the next, it's obvious like some of that carried over. But then with the recent happenings in 15's lifespan, I think it's become all the more.
He's definitely an artist. And does not let go easily. Which I think is a good thing, because otherwise how would we even get like a series like this?
Yeah.
So I think personally, with the just referencing back to the twist with Xigbar being Lucio, that has been hinted at since days.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like an interview, not an interview, well, there was an interview, but there was a report in the game where he talked about how Kingdom Hearts was rejecting Xehanort as a whole, and like looking back, like the tone of voice that like he wrote with and that he actually spoke with on camera were 2 completely different things. And I always thought that it was really odd that he would write like go back and read it. It's hard to explain, but the voice of that like a page just felt really off from the character, and I actually didn't know that he was the one that wrote it until it was explicitly written out for me to read somewhere else, like in the timeline.
Yeah, I would have guessed that was Ix or something.
Yeah.
But the thing with Xigbar is like in the final mix of Kingdom Hearts 2, when you start seeing those extra scenes where clearly he's the one that actually knows what's going on. I always knew like, there's got to be. This guy has his own agenda. He's the Revolver Ocelot of this series.
Oh my god, you're absolutely right. Eric, you just gave me like life.
Okay, thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you for that comparison. Okay. I won't ever be able to unsee it.
Revolver.
He actually has guns too.
In a lot of the extra scenes in Final Mix for 2, he had like his hood up while he was talking to some of the other members. And so like going back and watching those was like, damn.
And it also makes me happy. Yeah, because Nomura has always like mentioned how he's his favorite organization member, but he never gave like specific reasons why. And now we see that he's the only one that's lived, and he's been the mastermind this whole time.
Yeah, well, they all lived, didn't they?
Didn't they though? No,
they did. Like Sora's just like when Larxene's like turning into darkness. Sora's like, "What are you freaking out about? You're just gonna come back as human again." Larxene's like, "Yeah, but I'm angry that I lost to you."
I think that the only people who actually died would be the Xehanorts.
Yeah, no, the Xehanorts are dead. Everyone else is going to be back.
Yeah.
In something.
Yeah.
That's not so bad.
Yeah. Do you think Vanitas is coming back?
I
can see him coming back.
That's weird.
Okay.
He may have been recompleted with Ventus, but that can't be confirmed until a new entry.
Right.
No, he states that he's pure evil and he likes being evil, so he may be back in something.
Alright, I want him to come back, but
I appreciate Haley Joel Osment's job with him this game. He sounded so hammy. He was like, "But Ventus, I am your shadow." Like,
Brother!
Yes. No, I straight up got vibes of Liquid.
It was so good.
Okay.
And then I guess does anybody else have something, or is it just going to be me again?
It could be you again if you got more.
Okay. Well, last one. I think that there's another rule of time travel, and this is a big thing from Union Cross. Did anybody watch that scene with Maleficent and Mystery Man?
Oh my gosh.
Maleficent and Mystery Man?
Darkness thing?
Yeah, he never was shown on screen, but he said, "You can just call me Darkness."
Yeah.
With a capital D.
Oh, wait. Is Legend a Disney property? No, it isn't. It's not. Okay. Don't worry about it.
I think because he said basically the conversation went like, "Why can't I like change the past?" And he's like, "Well, you're stuck here because when Riku, like who was possessed, stabbed you with the Keyblade, like you used that chance since you were without a body to go back in time, and then you got trapped in this like world in the mobile game universe, and now you're stuck here and you can't get back." And she's like, "Okay, well, you've trapped me here. Like you were afraid of my power." And he said, "No, I'm afraid of your memories because you can ruin like a bunch of plans." I'm not even going to attempt to like decide who she was talking to, but I can assume that it was Zigbar or Lucio.
It was evil Moogle.
Yeah. The Organization 13 Moogle.
No. I mean the evil tiger stripe Moogle.
Oh, yeah, the evil Chirithy.
Yeah, it was that one, I think.
Nightmares.
But I think they did mention that there is a way for you to go back to your original time without like following standard rules of time travel, but they never went into detail. I think we saw that in this game. And what I think the rules are is that you have to cast off your memories of the past event completely. And that's just how you go back. Because I think that's the only way that you can return to a place that you had a body, because there's 2 instances in the game where we see that someone has obviously time traveled, but they have no recollection of like past events. And number 1 being Maleficent and Pete when they're in Big Hero 6 or San Francisco, and Riku comes up and says, "Hey, like, what you doing?" And he says, just be careful and don't go snooping around because the darkness will consume you again. And Pete asks, like, "Did you know that guy?" And she said, "Yeah, but I couldn't tell you from when." So that's a big hint, I think, that she
did.
That she had those memories erased at some point, but they're still there, like, somewhat, but she can tell that they've met before.
Oh, I thought that she was just like, "You know what, Pete, I don't got time to go into all this bullshit. You missed out a game. You're just my idiot flunky. I'm not." But yeah, maybe you're right on that.
And the second thing is when everyone died at the beginning of Keyblade Graveyard, and Sora had to use the power of waking to take them back to the point before, because we repeat the scene with Terranort, where he fights everybody. The only thing that's different is that Lingering Will came out the second time.
Yeah.
So they've time traveled, which that in and of itself was like, oh my god, did Nomura actually explain how the continue mechanic works in game? Because that's what happens when you die. You start over before you die, and you get another chance.
You stop that.
I love the fake out game over at the end of this game when you're fighting Xehanort's final form.
That was
and then
really
Donald and Goofy are in your PlayStation 4 controller.
Oh yeah.
That made me feel things.
Yeah.
That was so I cried.
A Link to All is a great track to listen to, and that was the perfect moment for it to be played. But yeah, that's my theory. Is just that you have to lose your memories to like return to a point in time, and that can be exploited in the future. And they all time traveled when they died. And
that
also
makes sense.
So
History continues.
But yeah, death means nothing.
So you say that the game overs actually happen in this universe, and that there's a whole bunch of dead Soras?
Yeah.
And the negative energy of all those dead swords is going to come together into Vanitas, and that'll be the final boss.
God, I hope
Sure.
I'm with it.
But yeah, like even Cherith, he says like you've been here like God, I don't know how many times, but never willingly, or never unwillingly, like against your will. Like you've always like kind of hopped in and then hopped back out. So I guess yeah, it could be an explanation for continues. So I don't know. We'll have to hear what Nomura says in his interviews, but
Okay,
that's all for me.
Yep. So next thing, or should we start wrapping up?
We should start wrapping up, I think.
Yeah.
It's late.
Yeah.
But I think I want to thank you guys for coming on first off, because I didn't know how this would go, and it's been a while since I've talked to you, Blue, but Lissa, especially, like, I'm glad that this turned out cool. I'm glad that everybody had a fun time.
Yeah,
I'm glad that I made some new friends. And you guys are welcome to come on for discussions on anything if you ever want to talk about anything.
Awesome.
I'm happy to have discussions with you about others' properties and stuff like that, and we really appreciate
our hearts have become connected.
Oh gosh. Wow.
It's a beautiful thing how it's brought us together.
We could D-Link or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But D-Link's actually just PayPal money.
Okay, well, don't do that.
Give me strength. And by strength, I mean a fat 50.
For record, because people do listen. Where can folks find you? You know, social media, YouTube, whatever platform you get your thoughts out.
Well, for me, it's for Twitter, it's at Curagah, but with an H at the end.
Okay.
And I do have a Tumblr, but I don't use it all that much anymore ever since Tumblr kind of died.
Not since the fall.
Yeah. But it's High Elixir with a hyphen. So.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
What, Brian?
I followed her.
Oh.
I followed her on Tumblr.
Okay.
Wow.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Long time ago.
Twist.
Small worlds. Worlds.
Cool. KH fandom's alive.
Okay.
Hearts and guiding keys.
You can follow me at Blue Highwind on Twitter, and I still write occasionally at bluehighwind.blogspot.com.
If you go give him clicks, he'll keep writing, and we all want that, please.
We do.
Yeah, comments are deeply appreciated. They are what keep me going. Also,
you can read his walkthroughs.
Yes, on the Final Fantasy Wiki, there are terrible walkthroughs that I wrote 10 years ago. And Kotaku, if you're listening, hire me.
Please.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming on. It was great having you. It was great talking to people.
Wait, George didn't get to shill his things.
Oh, well,
George always shills his
I was
thing.
going to say, I stay shilling. They already know where to find me on Twitter at Giorgio Fiorello, Tumblr.com, Shinjuku Death Parade. Also have a Redbubble, Giorgio F, to celebrate the new release. I'm going to be putting some new KH stuff on there, so be on the lookout for that. Also, CNC Bros are on Podbean. I have to download the first episode of Season 3 converted to audio so I can upload that as well as this episode when I get done. And we also have a Discord.
We do.
Okay.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Yep.
You too.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.